Mr. Hoenlein, thank you so much for joining us.
It's great to be with you, Charlie.
We're talking about being an ambassador, and there are a few people that I know in my life who represent that more than you. You've spent your whole life, I guess, feeling the burden, the privilege, and the responsibility of representing our people. Share with us a little bit, if you can, what that's like. Always thinking about the Jewish people and some of the things that you've encountered as to the power of each person along the way.
Well, first of all, I'm glad that you're addressing this topic because it's a time when we need to enlist new people, new leadership, young people to get involved, to be inspired. And that's a full-time project for all of us to get the next generation to understand their sense of achrayus, of what's at stake. You know, we learned too often in our past from the failure of people to rise to the occasion, to understand the opportunities that they have. And each person, and I've seen it repeatedly over the last 50 years that I've run Jewish organizations, way beyond my professional life, starting in my early teens with Soviet Jewry and with many other causes, and starting Woodges in North America and student activities, that it is calling. It's not a burden, but it is a responsibility. But above all, it's a privilege. Because when you look back in your life and you can say, I did something to save Soviet Jews, Iranian Jews, Ethiopian Jews, Syrian Jews, Iraqi Jews, Iranian Jews, what is of greater value that you made a difference in people's lives, whether it's an individual or a community or a country, when you can look back and say, I left a world a better place for my children, my grandchildren, and their grandchildren. You know, the wealth you can't take with you. You can have great accomplishments in business and finance and other things, and it's wonderful and it's important, so you can get stuck and you can improve the world. But more than that, it's how we affect people's lives and how we engage in improving the world and making it a better place for everyone. And so I have to admit, honestly, I never looked for a job in my life. Every job happened to me. And I believe that I have a contract with God, which is why I still work 18-hour days on the Jewish people, because I believe as long as I live up to my end, he'll live up to his end. Mm-hmm. But if I fail, he fails me. Mm-hmm. So it is a sense of mission that is so fulfilling and so important. You sacrifice a lot. I ran umbrella organizations my whole life, and people always ask me, how do I keep 50 Jewish organizations together? I tell them, I give them a common enemy, me. If they can all focus on that. But I think that honestly, you know, at this time when we have such serious challenges, and people know both internally and externally in Israel and here in the United States, the COVID, so many other layers of dangers, the rise of anti-Semitism, yet there are immense opportunities and great things. Nobody would have predicted the Abraham Accords, and you just had Ari discussing that, many other things. So we have, I think, a unique opportunity to really improve the world for future generations. If we look back, we understand all the people who made the world and left us a better place. Our job is to make it so for future generations.
You know, it's interesting that I mean, there's so many nuggets here that I think we have to sort of extract out and make sure we hold on to. This idea of a contract with God is very powerful for each and every one of us to realize that we all have a contract with God.
Exactly.
You know, I think people may feel, and I know I've heard you speak about this, and I was very moved when you would say this, and I've heard your speeches since I was, for my whole life. I mean, that I can remember. And you speak about the power of a Jew and what it means across the world and how we care for each other and each individual matters. When people look around and they say to themselves, I'm not that type. I can't do anything. What would you respond to those that are thinking that they agree for someone else?
Everybody can do something. No one can do everything. And each of us is given certain talents. And if we're privileged, then we get to use those in our lives. Look how many people are dissatisfied because they have to do something from 9 to 5 that they don't really care about. And then from 5 to 9, they engage in communal stuff where they get the real sipuk nefesh, they get the real satisfaction. I was privileged to spend my whole life, my days and my nights. And therefore, I think that after Tuesday, I'm a volunteer because I put in my 40 hours by Tuesday. And then the rest of the week, I feel that I'm on the equivalent. But I can't dance, sing, write. I can't do virtually anything, but I'm able to use those talents that God gave me in organizing and speaking and whatever to, and it gives me the satisfaction. But I realize I try not to see myself as others see me. When they talk about Jewish leaders and Jewish, I think that I'm in a privileged position, but that puts on me that extra layers of responsibility to know and to identify what are the things that I can bring to the Jewish equation. You mentioned power. Power is like a muscle. If you exercise it right, you build it up. If you abuse it, you destroy it.
Mhm.
Jewish power is a sacred thing. America has imposed on Jews Jewish power. We were able to play a role in bringing Soviet Jews out, who everybody had written off to history. The same thing with Syrian Jews. And I negotiated, and I went to see Assad and with the President of the United States, who first turned me down, and then finally on Ethiopian Jews. And because of our persistence and being in the position, sitting in his office and not leaving until they gave me a yes to have the Auschwitz mission, which led to the rescue of Ethiopian Jews. The power is not in your mind. Power is in how you exercise your responsibility.
Mm.
And if you view it as something really sacred, previous generations didn't necessarily have it. Jews in Germany in the turn of the century had an AIPAC. They had a lobby. They were very powerful, but they didn't know, and they ended up, because of their internal divisions, et cetera, fighting each other rather than fighting against the enemy. We have to look that the one condition that God set for all the great miracles that happened to us was Jewish unity. Achdus was the one precondition to getting the Torah at Sinai, to the rescue of Russian Jews and Ethiopian Jews. If we look at the story of Purim that we're going to celebrate, what was the answer to the threat? Esther says, Lech kenosis kol Yehudim, go and gather all the Jews. She didn't say the north or south Shushan or those, all the Jews, because it's in the collectivity that we have our power. When we bring everybody together and realize what we have in common far outweighs our differences, and that each of us brings something to the equation. Each of us can make a positive contribution to the future of the Jewish people.
Wow. I think it's once we recognize that it is the responsibility that we take that allows us to create the power, I think it changes the equation for us. I just want to thank you. I know we're running out of time because it's almost 9:00. I just want to thank you on behalf of all of us. I hope we get the opportunity to have you on again to really delve into some of these things as you're saying them. I'm sure each one is a show into itself. But
I just say one thing that to the listeners, because of Purim, I know it's your favorite holiday, and mine too. I heard that from your introduction. That the halacha, the law is that if you read the Megillah as if it's something describing something that happened in ancient history, then you haven't fulfilled the mitzvah. If you don't understand the contemporary significance, if you don't live Purim, if you don't understand, look at anti-Semitism. Haman said, I'm ready to give everything up, all the power, wealth, everything, just because that one Jew wouldn't bow down to me. Incredible. That we learned the lessons for today. So we look back to look forward. For us, history is so important because it gives us the context to understand how we meet the challenges of today.
Amazing. Mr. Hoenlein, thank you so much for joining.
My pleasure.
I hope we get to do this again. And
Anytime.
I hope that next time, I hope we get to open it up to the crowd, because I think a lot of people want to be asking you questions. So maybe we can work that out. And thank you for shining your light in this world and inspiring us to do the same.
My pleasure. Good Shabbos. Good Chodesh.
Good Chodesh. Thanks so much for watching. For more content, like and subscribe, and be sure to tune in live every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern at theshabbatshow.com or right here on YouTube.